I'm Jamie. Thanks for checking out my channel, Sweet Deafness. The reason it's called Sweet Deafness is I've been playing guitar for like 25 years, and I've always been a fan of Marshalls and a fan of loudness. Marshalls, they just sound so good when they're turned up to 10. I mean, that's just the way they sound the best. So in that time, I've pretty much blown out my hearing. I hear ringing in my ears constantly, and it's hard to hear people talk or dialogue like in movies or TV shows. And, as bad as that stuff sucks, it was fucking awesome getting here. Like just hearing an E chord just explode and kick you in the chest and kick you in the balls. If you haven't experienced that with a Marshall, definitely do that. But like I said, I've blown out my hearing because of it, but it was a great journey getting here. So yeah, the channel, it's basically, there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, so many great comparison videos and that sort of thing. But I like Marshalls and I like 6550s, which puts me at about 10% maybe of Marshall players. Everybody seems to like the L34s. I like the 6550s. On top of that, I'm just a rhythm player. I'm white knuckling it through playing rhythm guitar in a hardcore punk band. As much as I love music and love playing guitar, there's no talent involved in me playing guitar. It's all a fucking white knuckling struggle, but I love doing it. And so, since I'm 10% of guitar players playing 6550s, I don't play leads. I want to be Pete Townsend. I just want to play big fucking chords, big fucking power chords. And so that, being a hardcore guitar player in a hardcore punk band for 20 some years, that puts me even in a smaller percentage. So the videos that I do see on YouTube are a lot of times, it's like, hey, we're going to A-B these speakers, but they're, the guys in the videos will like play a bunch of leads and stuff. And like, I don't play leads, man. I need to hear the ball crushing chords. And so as great as a lot of these videos are, and I love to watch them, they weren't really aimed at me personally. So, and that's fine. Over the past 25 years or so, I've allotted this like mismatch of equipment, my cabinets and amps and my guitars are just like the island of misfit toys, the island of misfit Marshalls. It's all these cabinets with the speakers that didn't actually come in the cabinets, and that sort of thing. I'm not going to tell you what my favorite cabinet and speaker combination is, but let's just say it's not a stock configuration. So I had this mismatch of equipment. So another frustration I have with the videos is a lot of, to me, rock guitar is a Les Paul and a Marshall with recorded with a SM57. That's like the benchmark for rock guitar, rhythm guitar, I think. And, I see a lot of videos and it's like, we're going to test out this pickup or this, these cabinets or these speakers or whatever. But then they'll play a guitar like a PRS or something. And there's nothing wrong with PRSs. They're great guitars. But I just feel like that's not the benchmark. That's not what Jimmy Page played. That's not what Ace Frehley played, So I feel like Les Paul, Marshall, SM57, everybody's familiar with that sound and can kind of make comparisons to their own gear based off of what they know and are familiar with that sound. So even though I'm mostly an SG guy, in most of these videos I'll be playing, I have a few Les Pauls. So in most of these videos I'll be playing a Les Paul just because that's the sound everybody knows. And again, I have some nicer mics, but everybody knows a 57. So I have a SM57 I bought a few months ago. And so we'll use that for most of the videos. I'm going to try to use these benchmark things and try to be as scientific as possible, or at least as scientific as I can get, which means, setting the variables and then only changing one thing in the variables, So for instance, in an upcoming video that I'm going to do where we compare a JCM 800 with Seriatone, a JCM 800 clone, same cabinet, same speaker cables. I'm even going to move the preamp and power amp tubes from one amp to the other and rebias the amp. So, there's as little change as possible between the setups. So when you do hear the AB, that, that head is the only variable that's changed. I'm going to play the same riffs. I'm going to play mostly, simple, like Ramones, Black Flag, those types of riffs. I'll try to do a little noodling, and if you're one of those guys that, if you can play leads and you can suffer through me, playing an awful pentatonic scale, hopefully that will kind of show you what the lead sounds are. And again, not a great guitar player, but, I'm not here to show off my guitar playing skills. So, but anyways, I'm going to try to play the songs exactly the same with the same tempos and the exact same songs between all the different clips. So that way, we can get as much of an apples to apples comparison as I can. One thing that I see a lot of is, for me, is like confirmation bias, I think is what it's called. And basically, like if you think, oh, well, I like Les Pauls better than SGs, when it's a Les Paul being played, you're going to think, oh, well, I like this sound better. But for me, I don't like that humans have confirmation bias. For example, in the Power Tube shootout, the GE 6550s nowadays, for a pair of them is like $300. And there's new tubes being made that are, around $80 for a pair. And so I would love to not, favor the $300 pair of tubes. And so one of the things I'm going to do is at the beginning of the video, I will black out the screen, or you won't know what you're hearing exactly. So I'll just put up a picture or whatever, and it'll say tube A, tube B, tube C, or speaker cabinet A, speaker B, speaker C. So that way you can hear the clips and decide for yourself, like, oh, I think, setup A sounds the best, or setup C sounds the best. And then at the midpoint of the video, I'll list speaker A was this, speaker B was this. And so you can see like, oh, my preference has typically been for the vintage greenback or whatever, but maybe the new Chinese one sounds great. And so you'll, hopefully take away from this the ability to make decisions on at least the gear that I'm showcasing, and not have that brand name or, that vintage bias. When you hear stuff, you'll be able to hear it for what it is. I don't have a recording studio. I got a pretty, standard setup, SM57 into a cable, into a Motu to 896, and then recording into Logic, and trying not to compress the audio at all. I'm not sure. I might release the audio clips on like as AIFF files, and stick them in my Dropbox or something so you can download them and listen to them, so they haven't been compressed. I want to get the sound to you as vanilla as possible. When I see other YouTube clips, sometimes people will mix in like the room sound and that sort of thing, and that's great, and that makes the amp sound that much better. But the room you're playing in may not be anything like the room that I'm playing in, and so that colors the sound and does things to the sound that I can't replicate. Or when I go out and buy this speaker that I think sounds the best, when this person played it, doesn't sound that way when I played it. So although there's better ways to record and get better sounds, I'm going to be close miking everything, and trying to get as little of the room as possible. I'll be putting no EQ or no effects, no reverb, nothing like that. on any of the tracks. And, you know, that's all stuff that you can sweeten up on your own per your taste. But, you know, if you're just trying to compare apples to apples, me adding extra stuff on there to sweeten the sound or to make it sound better is not giving you a legitimate representation of what we're having the shootout for. So I'm gonna, you know, not do that. Also, a lot of times, you know, they'll test out Marshalls and that sort of thing. Marshalls, their tone characteristics really come out when the power amp section is pushed hard. And so a lot of times we'll see people doing shootouts like in their bedroom or whatever, but we don't know what volume level they're set at. So for me to make a judgment on a speaker when, you know, somebody's playing that speaker at bedroom volume, well, when I played at stage volume at 130 decibels, it's not going to sound anything like that. And so for me to use those types of videos to make, like, you know, buying decisions or whatever from, you know, I'm getting bad data that way. So much to the chagrin of my poor neighbors, I will be doing almost all of these tests with the amp at full volume. So around 129, 130 decibels. Again, sweet deafness. When you really want to hear what a Marshall sounds like, you know, you get that preamp tube gain, the breakup, the power tube breakup, and the speaker breakup. I mean, it's those three things that really make make an amp sound the way it sounds. And if you're demoing an amp or a speaker with volume on 2 or whatever, you know, you're really only hearing that preamp gain, and you're missing out 2/3 of that equation. So you're not going to hear what it sounds like at, you know, a stage volume or, you know, at 130 decibels stadium volume. So, so yeah, I'll be doing most of the tests with the amp at full volume. So anyways, yeah, this is my channel. Hopefully I answered questions. If you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I know everybody always says like, comment, and subscribe. I don't care if you like, comment, or subscribe. You know, I got a handful of gear. I'm going to do a handful of tests and post them here, and that'll probably be it. I have like a narrow field of interest, and so I only have, you know, these amps and these cabinets, and I'm not really interested in testing out anything else. You know, I've had this, you know, rough equivalent of this sound for 20 some years now, and I'm pretty happy with it. You know, unlike a lot of guitar players, I'm not like searching for better tone or whatever. Like, man, I nailed this shit in '98 and have been super happy with it ever since. So, you know, I won't be buying different brands of cabinets or anything like that. The reason I buy amps and cabinets nowadays are to have backups for my favorites. Just, you know, I love my amp and I don't want to lose that sound. And so I'm trying to always create a replica of, you know, my favorite amp, which we'll talk about in another video. So I guess that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the video and get some usefulness out of them. If not, you've just listened to my lackluster guitar playing for a little while, and you can, you know. Anyways, thanks for checking out the videos. I'm Jamie.